Hi everyone. Well, it's Mental Health Awareness Week, and I've thought long and hard about sharing my story. And even now, I'm not really sure if it's a good thing to do or not, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But a fellow wellbeing support provider yesterday shared his own story, so it encouraged me to press on. And anyway, I'd already committed to doing so in my newsletter that I wrote yesterday. As a holistic wellbeing practitioner with personal experience of ups and downs in life, as we all have, I wholeheartedly and passionately believe that mental health is an area of wellbeing that is perhaps the most important aspect, and that it influences and permeates every other aspect of life and well-being. And it makes a difference between whether you merely survive in life or thrive, whatever the external circumstances. So here I am, opening up to let you know an outline of my own mental health well-being story, so that hopefully it will get the ball rolling a bit, and that you too can take the first step or continue to take steps in exercising and strengthening your own mental health through first authentically, that's openly and consciously and kindly, acknowledging and facing your own weak spots when it comes to your mental health. And I hope that in sharing my story, it will just give you not only an insight as to where my experience and expertise, for what it's worth, come from, but also I'm just trying to be real here, and I hope that that is going to give some of you who might be afraid, nervous, embarrassed, to come forward and get help with your own mental health, to see that I'm just little old me, just as you are. I'm just humble, nothing special, and hopefully it'll give some of you the confidence to come forward and book in with sessions with me so that I can help you with your issues. So that's my hope. One thing I've come to learn in my therapy sessions with clients and with students as well is that the relationship between the teacher or the expert and the learner or the layperson is equally balanced between the two people in value and benefit, and that in fact both become learners when the relationship is fully open and both are receptive participants. And the healer often needs to be healed themselves, and in helping others to heal, that helps them heal themselves. Development, progress, enlightenment towards self-actualization and essentially a place of peacefulness or heaven mentally is a continual process, and there's a strength in this process. It can feel, particularly in the kind of society that we live in, like it's a weakness to have poor mental health and to discuss poor mental health. But actually, to be open, to share oneself boldly, bravely, in the process of helping others, to help others find themselves, is a really positive thing. So I am a therapist, and I do believe also that there is a therapist inside all of us. I said before that I was still uncertain whether sharing this insight into myself was good, in inverted commas, or not. And what I meant by that, really, I suppose, was, is this going to be good for business or not? We're all affected by our conditioned belief systems. Something I pride myself on in business is my really high standards of professionalism at Wirral Therapy Services. A key principle within the code of conduct of my industry area is in regard to topics of conversation that aren't to be discussed. One of these is essentially yourself or myself. Having an opinion, politics, religion, current affairs, these are all things that we're told it's not appropriate to discuss. We're encouraged to discuss only issues of the client's life and also mindless topics such as the weather and holidays. In counselling, advice is not to be given, and there are lots of restrictions, again including not expressing opinion. Now, there's a lot of sense in this to keep focused on the client. Yet, at the same time, it can mean in keeping a lot to yourself or a lot of yourself back, that you are not being entirely authentic as a therapist in the relationship. And the honesty and openness in the relationship really needs to go both ways, I feel. Another reason against the therapist sharing would be that despite their own intention and efforts not to judge, that if they share too much so that the client sees too much of them, if there's any conflict between opinions, beliefs and values, then the client could feel that they will be judged, even if they aren't, or that the therapist isn't on their wavelength if they don't think the same about every subject matter as what the client thinks. But somehow, to my mind, the authenticity is fundamentally more important. After all, on the spiritual path to enlightenment and peace, we must develop our compassion, understanding, forgiveness for others. And in the relationship between the therapist and client, the ultimate goal is surely long-term loving peacefulness, more than having the client like us in inverted commas. Of course, there has to be a rapport and there has to be love. But in assisting the client towards being love themselves, being of love, giving love and receiving love, then I am striving to support clients in their acceptance of and respect and love for and forgiveness of themselves firstly, as well as to help them develop acceptance, respect, forgiveness for all of life and all of its situations. It's part of my job, a big part of my job, to help clients to be authentic, to love themselves, to be open and not to be fearful of being judged. Well, if I'm to lead the way for clients, then I have to start with me, and I have to be a mirror to reflect that it's okay to be vulnerable, to be yourself, to not always follow the narrative of general society, to have different opinions to other people and be confident in an appropriate way to be able to share them, to open up, and also to lead the way for clients to know that it's okay to still be a work in progress as well themselves. So I do have qualifications, skills and expertise that are tools I use when working with clients. I'm not a counsellor. I do have qualifications in mindfulness, in cognitive behavioural therapy, transactional analysis, and I also have a lot of experience, personal experience, and that is just as valuable as all the certificates that I have. I can help because I've been there to a degree, as we all have. There is always someone better or worse off than you. There's always someone better or worse off than me. I had quite a privileged life until I became a teenager. I experienced a lot of love, though it wasn't expressed in the way I express it with my own daughter. I was very protected by a sense of security and unconditional love, and I was spoiled materially, yet under quite a strict upbringing. But then these things changed for me. My sense of security was stripped. My love and spoiling and protection in the forms they were given didn't help to keep me safe from developing huge insecurities and low self-esteem as circumstances came along that knocked me right off my privileged pedestal, and I no longer felt great. I was loved a lot with material things and words, but not necessarily with actions. Actions that would help instill a strong sense of myself within me. So basically, once I lost the material things due to divorce of my parents and the words of my family that bigged me up were replaced by cruel words and unkind treatment of peers at school, well, I lost my confidence, lost my self-esteem, and I lost my sense of self-worth, as basically they were built on foundations that had no substance. Early betrayal and abandonment and their symptoms continues to affect every aspect of my life, from romantic relationships, friendships, work, aspirations that I have, my self-identity, and those early experiences in my early teens put barriers in my way, and I myself have been working on rebuilding my self-sense positively ever since I was about 18 and had my first counselling session. My progress personally has been a really slow burner, and whilst I have a good sense of awareness of the factors that have impacted my journey in life, simple understanding and an intelligent academic level has not given me any particular benefit in hastening my healing and rebuilding, basically. So in honesty, although I've got good knowledge of my issues, if you like, that hasn't necessarily helped that much in the healing process. I personally have good emotional intelligence and wisdom. That mountain I overcame early on, but my journey on the path of change, of rewiring my brain with new, better beliefs and value systems and self-esteem, etc., has been really slow. I'm now 42 and I'm still faking it till I make it, even now. I have good understanding of mental health, its links to spirituality, and how tweaks in perception can help clients and myself make decisions and take directions that better serve us, and with great success with clients. I'm just not very good at cementing new positive patterns and states of mental health for myself. Though I do practice what I preach, so to speak, that is, in my intentions and efforts, sometimes though much more than in my success so far, and that's really important. People are awkward around emotional people, let alone around people with poor mental health. In society, for my generation and older at least, it's not the done thing to be anything other than stiff upper-lipped and to get on with life come what may. And those closest to us can actually be the ones who, even with the best of intentions, can sometimes shut us down. They just want us to be okay. They might say, oh, you'll be all right, don't worry. Or they might say, oh, just get yourself to the doctors and get on some depression medication. We want to please them as well and not create a fuss. We want to soothe the people who feel awkward around us. And this can be particularly true with women sometimes who feel that as the caregiver, they have to not need care themselves. Also for men, it's of course not seen as the manly thing to be anything other than gung-ho macho. And words that we use are so important in this. One example, when my nan died, I literally screamed after the interment, is it called, after the burial. I collapsed in floods of tears of grief at her graveside, and a very dear friend came over to me and said, "Come on, don't cry." I could tell people felt embarrassed at my awkward emotional display. So the people around us don't necessarily encourage us, even though they might have the best of intentions. I've always had strong opinions, and though insecure, I've always had tenacity and courage of my convictions. But my opinions have often been the minority opinion, and they've often been dismissed. I mean, countless times by people. I've often been told I'm too much of this or too little of that. I'm too opinionated. I should be more like this and less like that. By the very people sometimes whom a person should rely on for unconditional love. Over time, this has furthered, I suppose, my retreat away from being confident in openness, and it discouraged, I suppose, my thinking away from authentic living, perhaps particularly in my working life. Like everyone, I've experienced various life events. For me, including my own divorce, bullying at work, and a tribunal, because I'm no wallflower, so I won't just put up with injustices. So I have gone through the stress of taking legal action, and all the effort is quite stressful when doing that. I've had family feuds, pregnancy and birth traumas, postnatal blues, grief, lots of deaths in the family. I've had failed relationships, money issues, family cancer scares, lost friendships, and all these things are nothing out of the ordinary. But for the main part, despite a few attempts to deal with the fallout, it was never really effective. And I think one of the reasons is that I never found the approaches were really right for me. Bog standard counselling, certainly not very useful for me. If you haven't had any talking therapies, counselling really helps you to look at why and where your problems come from. Well, as I said, I already knew that. It was the step to working through it, to overcome it, that was what I needed. Also, the availability of these services on the NHS is nowhere near adequate. You get 6 sessions. Well, you're only just building a rapport with your therapist after the 6th session. If you push for it, and I am a bit of a pusher, they'll give you another block of sessions, so you get about 12. Well, you're still only touching the surface, really. Also, for me, hugely as a reason for the lack of success is because I really never committed the time to do healing, talking modalities. For as long as I can remember, and still to this day, I have always been a person who is, by my own definition, too busy. So busy doing despite not often getting very far, and not much time do I give to being. Only once my daughter grew enough to enough of an age to have awareness consciously of my mental health did I begin to move seriously into giving time to it, because I wanted to make sure that I broke the chains and not pass on any damaging cycle of mental ill health conditioning onto her. So what's my current situation with this strange corona COVID-19 crisis? Well, for me, a massive thing has been frustration, because I'm a wellbeing therapist, but mainly, people initially come to me for the hands-on therapies. It becomes talking therapy, as I build that rapport with my clients. So it's been hugely frustrating to have to take a step back from that at a time that I knew people were really going to need help. I can't practice in the usual way. So I've tried to take things online a little bit. Those of you who followed me at all, you'll know the efforts that I'm making. And I've been so busy preparing wellbeing resources to keep my business name alive, to keep trying to support my clients, that basically at the moment I haven't been practicing what I preach. Okay, so we're now into I'm not quite sure, maybe week 8 of this lockdown situation. We've just moved out of a very strict lockdown into a slightly more relaxed lockdown. We're still expected to socially distance as much as possible. And I have only just this weekend put together a timetable for myself. I have to work by a timetable. I'm a routine person. It's just the way I work. I've only just put together a timetable for what my life is going to look like at the moment. Well, basically for the last 7 weeks or so, I've been floating around, personally experiencing really poor mental health, which has really negatively impacted on my other areas and sort of my productivity each day. I kind of flounder around not knowing what to do. So that's where I am right now, and I'm ready now. And it's really good timing with it being Mental Health Awareness Week. I'm ready now to start moving my own mental health forward. You know, I've been putting resources together for other people. I've been having phone consultations with people, giving them suggestions of what resources that I've made available might be good for them, other resources that are widely available. And being brutally honest with you, I haven't been following any of that myself. Now, going back a little bit, I basically wasn't okay for a lot of my life, and I'm still not 100% okay. As I say, you know, I'm not being in a great place at the moment, and I have ups and downs, because the things that I'm putting in place to strengthen my own well-being, emotionally and mentally, they're really good. They're getting there, but they're very easily shaked if circumstances push me. So, I mean, you know, who is 100% okay with this situation? I don't know. Maybe you are. Maybe people around you are or aren't. We're on different parts of a band of okayness, I guess. And we might be up and down as well. And the thing is, though, that it's okay not to be okay. When a breakdown meant I had to stay off work for 4 months about 6 years ago, that was when I really threw myself into self-development. My mum was great and looked after my daughter a lot, which was fantastic so that I could look after me. I was really blessed with that, and not everyone has that help. And that's one reason I feel wellbeing therapy sessions are so beneficial for people, because it gives that space, even if just for an hour, to let go of the external, to let go of family, work, money, responsibilities, and to just be. And the more we can clear our minds, the greater the capacity of spaciousness within. And the more efficient use of that time can be for reflection and for resetting, pressing the reset button, and addressing issues that you might not otherwise have time to address. Doctors don't have all the answers. I don't have all the answers, and externally, maybe you don't have all the answers. Medication will only numb the pain of depression and anxiety and things like that. And depression can be seen as a malfunction. And yet, isn't it appropriate to sometimes feel down or anxious or unhappy? You think of social media and it mainly shows people's happy photos of happy days, and no one really wants to hear your bad news or your sad news or your doom and gloom. And I get that. And whilst it's important to move forward, not become too stuck, dwell, mope too long and get sucked into a pit where you drown in depression, the answer is neither found in a bottle nor in the fake happy smiles on Facebook. We must face our demons, work through our issues and overcome them. And I think overcome is a really good word to use, because I don't think it's all about ever getting fixed. It's about emerging stronger so that we can flourish, so that we can thrive. And we have to give ourselves time in our diary, perhaps a long soak in an evening bath, 20 minutes morning meditation, doing a run, or, whilst walking with our therapist, or, having a massage with your therapist. We have to be doing something and putting it there in a place of importance, in order to go through the process of allowing ourselves to feel our mental ill healths before progressing onto working to evolve them. We have to allow ourselves to feel it, to experience it, not to just push it aside, brush it under the carpet, etc., because we're too busy. Because no medication is going to heal you. No therapist will claim to heal you, because healing comes from within. So whether you are on medication for your mental health or not, and there's a place for that, but to heal, you have to still put the work in yourself. One of the problems, as I said earlier, is with motivation. And when we have mental sluggishness, we might not feel like bothering. And this is really tough. Working with a professional coach or therapist can give you the hand that you can hold, or the hand on your back giving you a gentle push. One thing I would suggest to get into your mindset as early as possible is that of having a plan and following it as reliably and routinely as you would get up and go to work, whether you felt like it or not. You get up and you go to work, whether you feel like it or not. You get up and you make your children's breakfast, whether you feel like it or not. You brush your teeth, whether you feel like it or not. You might sometimes not brush your hair, but you definitely brush your teeth whether you feel like it or not. Having that massage session booked, having 20 minutes set aside and scheduled, or whatever strategy or strategies you feel called to, it's about committing and showing up. Whether you always feel like it or not, it's about not doing whatever your mood dictates to you, but doing what you have planned and sticking to it no matter what. Talking, not to wallow, but to get issues out in the open so that they can be dealt with instead of swept under the carpet, is so important, and it's usually best when shared, especially as you will probably find others are also having similar experiences. I've just told you, a little overview of mine. Talking is good as it helps you analyse. Silence is also good as it gives you space for problem solving. Both are fundamental aspects of your experience here with me at Wirral Therapy Services, along with authentic interrelationship, love and guidance within a safe space that's free from judgment. So there are my thoughts and a little bit of my own story, and I hope I've impressed upon you that it's good to talk, and I hope that encourages you to get in touch, and if you need to, arrange with me a talking session, whether it's face-to-face over a video link call, or whether it's in a socially distanced walk and talk, which we're now allowed to do between two people. So let's keep it real. Let's talk about and improve our mental health as one branch of your well-being. If you're not feeling great, let's get together and make changes. And if you're feeling fine, let's also help you to feel great. I'm here to help. You just have to get in touch. You can either call me to arrange a talking session, or you can go on my website, www.wirraltherapyservices.co.uk, to the Enroll Now page and enroll in the Holistic Wellbeing Club if you haven't already done that. Let's do this. Let's work on our mental health. It's Mental Health Awareness Week. It's good to talk. Thanks for listening.